The GNOME desktop environment has long been one of the most influential and widely used graphical environments in the Linux ecosystem, shaping how millions of users interact with open-source operating systems every day, from powering major distributions to influencing design trends across the open-source world. GNOME's evolution has always been closely watched by developers, enthusiasts, and everyday users alike. Now, with the arrival of the GNOME 50 release candidate, the project is taking another significant step forward, introducing a range of improvements, refinements, and technical advancements that aim to further modernize the Linux desktop experience. Among the most exciting developments in this release is the addition of HDR screen sharing support, a feature that reflects the growing importance of high dynamic range displays and modern graphics technologies in everyday computing. To understand why the GNOME 50 release candidate is generating so much attention, it's important to first look at the broader context of the GNOME project itself. GNOME has been a cornerstone of the Linux desktop ecosystem for more than 2 decades, with its focus on simplicity, usability, and a clean design philosophy. Over the years, the project has undergone several major transformations, including the shift from the classic GNOME 2 interface to the more modern GNOME 3 shell introduced in 2011. That transition was controversial at the time, but it ultimately laid the groundwork for a design language that prioritizes minimalism, productivity, and a distribution. Since then, GNOME has continued to evolve steadily through incremental improvements, performance optimizations, and new technologies. With the transition toward GNOME 40 in later versions, the project introduced a redesigned activities overview, improved touchpad gestures, and a more fluid workspace management system. These changes marked a significant step in modernizing the desktop experience, aligning it more closely with contemporary user interface expectations. Each subsequent release has continued to refine that foundation, improving responsiveness, accessibility, and integration with modern hardware. GNOME 50 represents another milestone in this ongoing journey, bringing both user-facing enhancements and deeper technical improvements under the hood. The arrival of the GNOME 50 release candidate is particularly notable because it signals that the development cycle is nearing completion. In software development, a release candidate typically represents a nearly finished version of the product that is ready for final testing before the official stable release. At this stage, most major features have already been implemented, and the focus shifts toward bug fixing, performance tuning, and ensuring compatibility across different hardware configurations. For GNOME users and developers, the release candidate offers an early look at what the final version will deliver, while also providing an opportunity to identify and report any remaining issues. One of the most talked about features in this release candidate is HDR screen sharing support. HDR, or high dynamic range, is a display technology that enhances the contrast and color range of images and videos, allowing screens to show brighter highlights, deeper shadows, and a much wider spectrum of colors. While HDR has become increasingly common in televisions, gaming monitors, and modern laptops, support for HDR workflows on Linux has historically lagged behind other platforms. The introduction of HDR screen sharing in GNOME 50 represents an important step toward closing that gap and bringing Linux desktops closer to feature parity with other operating systems. Screen sharing has become an essential feature in modern computing, especially with the rise of remote work, online collaboration, and virtual meetings. Whether it's presenting slides during a conference call, demonstrating software to a colleague, or streaming gameplay to an audience, screen sharing plays a critical role in how people communicate and collaborate digitally. However, traditional screen sharing systems often struggle with HDR content because they are designed around standard dynamic range or SDR displays. This can result in washed out colors, incorrect brightness levels, or other visual artifacts when HDR content is shared. With GNOME 50, the introduction of HDR-aware screen sharing aims to address these issues by ensuring that HDR content is handled correctly during capture and transmission. This means that when a user shares their screen from an HDR-capable display, the system can preserve the enhanced color, depth, and brightness information rather than compressing everything into a standard dynamic range format. As a result, viewers on compatible displays can experience a much more accurate representation of what the presenter is seeing. Behind the scenes, enabling HDR screen sharing requires significant work at multiple levels of the Linux graphics stack. Modern Linux desktops rely heavily on technologies such as Wayland and PipeWire and advanced GPU drivers to manage graphics rendering and media streaming. GNOME has been gradually transitioning toward Wayland as its default display server protocol, replacing the older X11 system that has been used for decades. Wayland offers better security, smoother graphics, and improved support for modern display technologies, making it an essential foundation for features like PipeWire. Another key component in the Linux multimedia ecosystem, plays a crucial role in screen sharing. Originally developed to handle audio routing and low-latency media processing, PipeWire has expanded into a comprehensive framework for managing video streams as well. Many modern Linux desktop environments use PipeWire to capture and transmit screen content during remote desktop sessions or video calls. By integrating HDR support into this pipeline, GNOME developers can ensure that the entire screen sharing process from capture to encoding to transmission preserves the expanded color and brightness data required for HDR. Another factor that makes HDR support particularly challenging is the wide range of hardware configurations found in the Linux ecosystem. Unlike tightly controlled platforms where hardware and software are developed together, Linux must work across countless combinations of GPUs, monitors, drivers, and display protocols. Supporting HDR in this environment requires careful coordination with graphics driver developers and extensive testing across different systems. The progress seen in the GNOME 50 release candidate suggests that the Linux graphics stack is maturing rapidly and becoming more capable of handling advanced display technologies. Beyond HDR screen sharing, GNOME 50 also brings a variety of other improvements that contribute to a more polished desktop experience. Performance optimization has been a major focus, with developers working to reduce resource usage and improve responsiveness across the shell and core applications. Users can expect smoother animations, faster application launches, and more consistent performance when switching between workspaces or opening the activities overview. These kinds of refinements may not always grab headlines, but they play a crucial role in making the desktop feel fast and reliable. Another area of improvement in GNOME 50 involves better support for modern hardware. As laptops and desktop systems continue to evolve, operating systems must adapt to new types of displays, input devices, and power management technologies. GNOME developers have been working closely with hardware manufacturers and the broader Linux community to ensure that new devices work seamlessly with the desktop environment. This includes improvements in handling high-resolution displays, adaptive refresh rates, and advanced graphics capabilities. Accessibility is also an important focus for the GNOME project, and each new release brings enhancements designed to make the desktop more usable for people with different needs. GNOME has long been recognized for its commitment to accessibility, offering features such as screen readers, magnification tools, high-contrast themes, and keyboard navigation improvements. GNOME 50 developers continue to refine these tools while also ensuring that new technologies like HDR and Wayland remain accessible to all users. Application developers within the GNOME ecosystem are also benefiting from updates included in the release candidate. GNOME provides a set of development libraries and design guidelines that help programmers create applications with a consistent look and feel. As the platform evolves, these tools are updated to support new interface elements, improved performance, and modern programming practices. Developers building applications for GNOME 50 will have access to updated frameworks that make it easier to integrate features like advanced graphics rendering and media handling. The GNOME Settings application, a central hub for configuring the desktop environment, has also received updates in the new release candidate. Improvements to the display settings interface allow users to better manage advanced display capabilities, including HDR and color profiles. As HDR becomes more common, users need intuitive tools to enable or adjust these features without navigating complex technical menus. By refining the settings interface, GNOME aims to make advanced display technologies more accessible to everyday users. Security remains another critical priority for the GNOME project. The shift toward Wayland has already introduced significant security benefits by isolating applications and preventing them from accessing each other's input or screen content without permission. Screen sharing features are designed with similar principles in mind, ensuring that applications must request explicit user approval before capturing the screen. As HDR support is integrated into the screen sharing pipeline, developers are careful to maintain these security protections. Another aspect of the GNOME 50 release candidate that has generated excitement within the community is the ongoing refinement of the GNOME Shell interface. The shell serves as the core user interface of the desktop environment, managing windows, notifications, and the activities overview. Developers have continued to improve the responsiveness and fluidity of this interface, ensuring that animations remain smooth even on systems with modest hardware. These refinements help maintain GNOME's reputation for delivering a visually polished desktop experience. Energy efficiency is also an area where improvements are being made. Modern laptops rely heavily on power-saving features to extend battery life. and desktop environments must cooperate with system components to minimize unnecessary resource usage. GNOME developers have been working on optimizing background processes and reducing CPU wake-ups, which can contribute to better battery performance on portable devices. These optimizations may seem small individually, but together they can make a noticeable difference in everyday usage. The introduction of HDR screen sharing also has implications for creative professionals and content creators who rely on accurate color representation. Photographers, video editors, and designers often work with HDR content to achieve more realistic visuals and improved dynamic range. Being able to share that content accurately during collaborative sessions can significantly improve work, especially when working remotely with clients or team members. With GNOME 50, Linux users in creative industries may find it easier to integrate their workstations into HDR-based production pipelines. Gaming is another area where HDR support can have a meaningful impact. Many modern games are designed with HDR visuals in mind, offering more vibrant colors and improved lighting effects. While gaming on Linux has grown significantly thanks to technologies like Proton and improved GPU drivers, full HDR support across the desktop environment has remained a work in progress. The advancements seen in GNOME 50 suggest that the Linux gaming ecosystem is moving closer to delivering the same visual experiences that gamers expect on other platforms. Community feedback plays a crucial role in the development of GNOME, and the release candidate phase is an important time for gathering input from testers around the world. Developers encourage users to install the release candidate on test systems, explore the new features, and report any issues they encounter. This collaborative approach helps ensure that the final release is stable and reliable across a wide variety of environments. Linux distributions that ship GNOME as their default desktop environment are also preparing for the upcoming release. Popular distributions often integrate new GNOME versions shortly after their official release, bringing the latest improvements to millions of users. The GNOME 50 release will likely appear in upcoming versions of major distributions, providing a new generation of desktop features for both longtime Linux users and newcomers exploring the platform for the first time. As the GNOME 50 release candidate continues to undergo testing, the development team remains focused on polishing the remaining details before the final launch. Bug fixes, translation updates, and minor interface adjustments are all part of this final stage. Once these tasks are complete, the stable version of GNOME 50 will be officially released, marking another milestone in the evolution of Linux desktop. The arrival of HDR screen sharing support in this release candidate symbolizes a broader shift in the Linux ecosystem toward embracing modern multimedia capabilities. As displays become more advanced and users demand richer visual experiences, desktop environments must evolve to support these technologies seamlessly. GNOME 50 demonstrates that the open source community is capable of meeting these challenges, delivering cutting-edge features while maintaining the principles of transparency, collaboration, and user empowerment that define the Linux world. Ultimately, the GNOME 50 release candidate represents both a technical achievement and a glimpse into the future of the Linux desktop. By introducing HDR screen sharing and continuing to refine performance, usability, and hardware support, the project is pushing the boundaries of what open source desktop environments can offer. As users begin exploring this release candidate and preparing for the final version, it's clear that GNOME remains a driving force in shaping the next generation of Linux computing experiences.